This is CBC Here and Now.
I think that the expanded Canadian bubble is the real next opportunity for us. We need to get Canadians traveling around our own country safely.
Tourism operators say they need the Canadian bubble, but another travel expansion is unlikely this month.
Generations of Chinese people have moved to Newfoundland during tumultuous times in world history. Are we living through that right now in Hong Kong? NDP MP Jack Harris in conversation.
Good evening, I'm Carolyn Stokes. The Premier's office isn't committing to a date for a Canadian bubble. The province previously floated July 17th as a possibility, but that is now seeming less and less likely. That comes as disappointing news for at least one tourism industry organization. Here Now's Heather Gillis reports. I think we'll have that story for you in one moment. Apologies for the technical difficulties. And here we go.
About 1,200 people a day have been coming to the province since the Atlantic bubble opened about 10 days ago. That's compared to a low of 1 to 200 in March and April. But when it comes to a Canadian bubble allowing more people to travel here without a 14-day self-isolation, Health Minister John Haggie says that won't happen this week or even this month.
I know from discussions at CMOH level, I would be very surprised to see much significant movement before the end of this month.
A statement from the Premier's office today says there are no firm decisions on expanding to the rest of the country yet. It said the Chief Medical Officer of Health will determine and guide any easing of travel restrictions. Back in June, when the Atlantic bubble was announced, Ball told reporters the Canadian bubble would come as early as July 17th.
So we would also like to say that if all goes well in both Alert Level 2 and the easing of travel restrictions in the Atlantic bubble, our plan will be to further ease travel restrictions.
I believe it would be premature today to be considering a further loosening of our border restrictions.
But in PEI, where there's a new case today unrelated to recent clusters, the Chief Public Health Officer, Heather Morrison, is hesitant. She says now is not the time for a Canadian bubble, and PEI Premier Dennis King says they'll scale back travel and other measures if they have to.
As we have said from the very beginning, we will follow the evidence.
However, the tourism industry would like to see a Canadian bubble sooner rather than later, but they'd also like to see it done safely.
I think that the expanded Canadian bubble is the real next opportunity for us. We need to get Canadians traveling around our own country safely.
Steve Denty, chair of Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador, believes the Atlantic bubble is working well, but he says rural areas dependent on tourism are hurting.
We need people from abroad to support those areas. Particularly in rural Newfoundland, you see businesses struggling with the decision of whether to open.
He says there needs to be a coordinated approach between provinces with consistent screening and contact tracing to make people comfortable to travel the country again. Meanwhile, the province says chief medical officers in all jurisdictions across Canada are monitoring the Atlantic bubble and discussing potential opportunities to move forward as safely as possible. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
So we don't have a date yet for the Canadian bubble, but we do know the ban on the Canada-U.S. border crossings will be in place for at least another month. CBC News has confirmed the border closure will be extended another 30 days into August. The agreement, which allows essential travel only, was set to expire next week. The extension comes as the United States struggles to contain COVID-19. David Cochran reports.
The border closure has been in place since March and extended each and every time it was up for renewal. Now another 30 days until the end of August.
We recognize that the situation continues to be complex in the United States in regards to COVID-19.
The extension comes after Prime Minister Justin Trudeau spoke with U.S. President Donald Trump by phone on Monday, and as public health officials warn that the situation in the United States is far from under control.
We have an average about 300 cases per day in Canada. I think in the U.S. Quite a bit more, 60,000 plus cases are reported every day. Certainly myself, from a strictly public health perspective, we recognize that the priority in many ways is to protect the health and safety of Canadians.
Day by day, state by state, the U.S. continues to set grim records of new COVID cases. Recent polls suggest at least 80% of Canadians want the border to stay shut. There's a sense the U.S. has lost control.
If we take examples of countries who managed well this crisis, in the list of those who did well, you won't find United States. They are still deep in it. And we have to remain very careful. We are speaking about the health and lives of many people here.
So another extension of another month of essential travel only, and every indication it will stay that way for the foreseeable future. David Cochran, CBC News, Ottawa.
Memorial University is staying mostly online in September, but at St. Francis Xavier in Nova Scotia, some students will be heading back to campus. And that means signing a liability waiver. Kayla Hounsell explains.
Many Canadian universities plan to offer classes primarily online this fall, but St. Francis Xavier is holding most of its on campus, and to attend, students have to sign a waiver.
I was very surprised at the language in the waiver. It was very strong, agreeing to the waiver, or else we would not be welcome back on campus and our student account would be suspended.
The waiver absolves the university of all liability related to loss or illness due to COVID-19, even if the university is negligent. Kouri doesn't want to sign it, but she needs 10 courses to graduate and only one is available online.
I don't really feel that there is a choice because I think that choosing between continuing your studies and returning to campus, that's a choice made under duress.
It's certainly a very detailed and extensive waiver that seems to cover off just about every conceivable situation.
McKay says a court might strike down a contract in cases where there has been criminal negligence or if a contract is considered too one-sided, but he cautions that would be extremely rare.
Students signing this should be aware that they're potentially giving up just about every possible opportunity for them to sue.
Cynthia McKenzie had to sign a waiver when she signed her kids up for soccer.
Well, it was a little nerve-wracking. I mean, those are my kids. I certainly want them to be safe.
McKay says the law is different when kids are concerned.
When the now minor child becomes an adult, they still have their rights to sue because the courts have been quite clear that you cannot sign away your children's right to sue.
At St. FX, more than 800 students, faculty, and community members are asking the university to amend the waiver to reflect its obligation to provide a safe environment. The president says he will review the decision. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Halifax.
Well, back in this province, a salmon farm on Newfoundland's south coast near McCallum is dealing with infectious salmon anemia. A fish tested positive for the virus last week at Cold Ocean Salmon, a division of Cook Aquaculture. The company now plans to remove 340,000 salmon from 6 cages to keep the virus from spreading. According to the company, the fish were market size and will go to grocery stores. The Canada Food Inspection Agency says infectious salmon anemia does not infect humans and isn't a risk to food safety. A company spokesperson says no farmed salmon have died as a result of the virus. Well, the old Save Easy grocery store in Churchill Square is coming down. The building sat vacant for 8.5 years. Dominion's parent company, Loblaws, held on to the space and wouldn't lease to competitors, creating a dead zone on one side of the square. Well, last summer, St. John City Council approved a 6-story mixed-use development to go in its place. KMK Properties is overseeing the project, which will have retail space on the ground floor and 69 1- and 2-room bedroom apartments above. The new building is expected to be ready in the spring of 2022. The trial for a St. John's man once acquitted in a large drug operation has been postponed. The move comes as Kurt Churchill's longtime lawyer stepped down. Erin Breen told the court she was removing herself as counsel. Here Now's Ariana Kelland explains.
All told, it took 5 minutes start to finish. Well-known defense attorney Erin Breen stepped down as Kurt Churchill's lawyer. She didn't have to say why, and the 43-year-old did not have to appear. Churchill was supposed to stand trial for allegedly uttering threats to cause death or injury to an officer with the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary. Court documents indicate the alleged offense occurred on March 24, 2019. He was released on conditions, including to reside at his home at 40 Craig Miller Avenue and to not possess firearms or any prohibited weapon. That home on Craig Miller Avenue has been the focal point of a homicide investigation into the shooting death of 47-year-old James Cody. Cody was killed in the early morning hours of July 5th. Breen has represented both Cody and Churchill in the past for unrelated drug matters. Churchill and the deceased were both acquitted on those past charges over trial delays. 9 days ago, Cody's body was discovered lying in the middle of the street shortly after 4 a.m. His red Jeep was found parked on the wrong side of the road with the driver's side door ajar near Churchill's home. No one has been charged and the RNC has not named any suspects. Churchill's new trial date has been set for September 14th. Ariana Kelland, CBC News, St. John's.
A St. John's Member of Parliament says the federal government needs to warn Canadians about how China is bringing down the hammer in Hong Kong. The move could affect travelers to and from the region. Beijing has imposed a sweeping new law that strips the former British colony of basic rights and media freedoms. Here's Anthony now with more.
Well, here at Mount Pleasant Cemetery in St. John's, a special feature is that there are generations of Chinese people who are buried here, people who left China and Hong Kong at the time because of turbulence, and we are living that kind of era right now. We're going to talk about international affairs with NDP MP Jack Harris. What's your assessment of what's going on in Hong Kong right now?
Well, I think, it's pretty clear that the government of Beijing has acted to try to suppress activities, political activities of various kinds in Hong Kong, from the extradition law to some people calling for independence, and they're doing that with overriding the existing law there. That's causing a lot of concern because the major fight in the last 2 years was about the extradition issue. They've found potentially a back door to that, to the extent that Canada has suspended its own extradition treaty to Hong Kong because it would put Canadians at risk of running afoul of that law for being extradited to Hong Kong and then potentially to mainland China.
Now, you've raised your own concerns with the federal government of Canada about this. Can you explain that to me?
Well, I think it's the same rationale. I mean, the law expressly says it has extraterritorial effect. So anyone with an extradition treaty with Hong Kong could, in theory, seize a citizen transiting through another country. Canada has done it for itself. Well, then, if a Canadian is traveling through a country with an extradition treaty, they could be seized in the same way, presumably, that Meng Wanzhou was seized in Canada by the Americans. So I think we asked the government to issue a travel advisory to warn those, and there are lots of them around in Canada now, who feel that they're being watched and that they're potentially in danger if they go to Hong Kong. So that's the same would apply here. So we're just saying that if you're going to do this, you should warn people of that. The full extent of this law is unknown, and I think that's a problem too for activists within Hong Kong, because they don't know whether they're violating the law or not, because the law is so vague and subject to interpretation and deeming legislation that it's instilling a lot of fear, and rightly so. And I think this may well be the intention of the Chinese government.
Do you have any concerns, though, given the status of relations between Canada and China right now, that we have the two Michaels who are still in detention there? It's messed up with that Meng Wanzhou CEO that you mentioned. Wouldn't a travel warning for Canadians be interpreted in Beijing as an irritating act for Canada to do at this time?
Anything can be interpreted that way by the Chinese government. Actions taken by the government of Canada, particularly anything that would approach a sanction type effort, should be done in concert with other countries. We can't really effectively get involved in a tit-for-tat with China. They have far more levers than we do. They're a far huger economy, and Canada and Canadian businesses are intimately tied up with the Chinese situation. So if you are going to have some effect on China, in the long run, you have to work with other nations. So it has to be a coordinated effort. In terms of a warning to Canadians, I think that's just a warning to those who might be affected by it. I don't think it's a general travel warning, but one that if people have been active in making statements or protesting against the Chinese government's laws or rules, then they're the only ones that would really be affected.
You know, modern history has seen waves of Chinese people leaving that part of the world to come to places like Newfoundland, Toronto, Vancouver. It happened in the 1800s, happened in the 1900s. You think at Tiananmen Square, after Tiananmen Square, there's a massive influx of Chinese people to Canada. When you take a look at what's happening now, does Canada need to sort of join Australia and Britain and signal that in the event that we see one of these out-migrations that we should be welcoming people from Hong Kong, if need be?
Well, I think that, we do have already, 300 and some odd thousand citizens that are there. And I think if it's a human rights situation, then our laws have always been, and our country has been welcoming to people seeking refuge from persecution or from action by their government. So I think if there are things that we can do to assist those who are in need of refuge, then I think we should do that. I don't foresee a mass immigration to this country from China.
All right, Jack Harris, appreciate your thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The Royal Newfoundland Constabulary has a new recruit, and she is adorable. Meet Stella, a Portuguese water dog, and the RNC's first support dog. She's named after Stella Burry, a pioneering social worker. Here in Now's Ryan Cook met Stella this afternoon.
This is Stella. She's a 4.5-month-old Portuguese water dog. She is our newest recruit with the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary. She's going to be our support dog. We have numerous duties for her to do. First, of course, employee wellness, employee mental health is a priority. As well, she will be not only out in the community, but as well with different organizations that are in the community. She's going to be used as a court testimony support aid. We hope with training, she will be used as an aid, with especially with child interviewing. You have young children coming in trying to tell a traumatic event, and hopefully with her presence, she has a very calm demeanor, so hopefully it will help with them giving as much information as we can to the investigator. As well, intimate partner violence, any kind of traumatic situation or traumatic event in the community. And we've been going out in the community, such places as the Gathering Place, St. John's International Airport. As well, we've been visiting the provincial court system as well, and basic obedience training for what her job is for the RNC.
And for you personally, what's it like to have her, to be your handler, and what kind of benefits do you get from that?
I receive great benefit from Stella. I mentioned earlier about employee mental health. I myself had experience of post-traumatic stress injury in my career. Unfortunately, some calls that we tend to can be very stressful and can remain with you for many days and months and even years after responding to that call. And having her live with me day to day and going to work with me day to day, it's been so good for my mental health. And I just love going into offices and seeing other officers light up when they see Stella.
Where are you traveling this morning?
Just going back to town.
Purpose of your visit?
There's more than just one Newfoundland and Labrador connection to this new crime thriller. It's getting lots of attention in the United States. We'll hear from the director coming up.
This weather update is brought to you by Newfoundland and Labrador Tourism. This year, it's Stay Home Year, the year to rediscover home.
Well, time now for a look at the weather forecast, starting with a look at today's highs. A bit of a mixed bag right across the province today. We saw a high of 19 degrees in Churchill Falls, but over in St. Anthony, 12 degrees, just 10 in Twillingate today. And St. John saw a high of 18 degrees, but that is changing pretty quickly. We're going to see a real drop in temperatures tomorrow in the east. Also, a lot of rain, wet Wednesday coming in the east, and those temperatures taking a dive for sure. And Labrador are going to be enjoying a nice sunny streak for the next few days. So let's have a look at tonight. There's a chance of some thunder showers along the south coast. Lots of rain along central areas and cloudy skies tonight for the Avalon Peninsula. Temperatures dipping down to 10 degrees in St. John's. Winds fairly light tonight. Only about 2 to 4 millimeters expected this evening in the east. 5 millimeters in Marystown. Corner Brook looking at an overnight low of 10 degrees. So for Labrador, nice and clear and calm. Crisp night there. 3 degrees as the overnight low in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Now looking ahead to tomorrow, this is all of the rain that I was talking about, mostly affecting the Avalon, Burin, and the northeast coast of the island tomorrow. So you can see how that gets quite heavy later on in the afternoon. Looking at about 15 to 25 millimeters of rain for the Avalon Peninsula tomorrow. And look at those temperatures, 11 degrees as the high tomorrow. And it's going to stay that way for a couple of days. So settle in, folks. So for the Bonavista area, looking at 5 to 10 millimeters of rain there. And going to be fairly windy along the coast for the Burin Peninsula. Gusts up to 60 along the coast there tomorrow. For central areas, going to be kind of a drizzly start to the day for the Grand Falls, Windsor area, getting up to about 15 degrees. They're cooler along the coast and the Harbor Breton area, looking at 5 to 10 millimeters tomorrow, and should be fairly windy there tomorrow as well, with gusts up to 60. For the west coast, though, things are looking quite nice. Corner Brook, 20 degrees, a mainly cloudy day. Could see some showers in the Port aux Basques area, 15 degrees there, and a cool day coming for Baver tomorrow. Up along the Straits, it's clearing off quite nicely. Sunny skies expected in Cartwright tomorrow with 20 degrees as the high. For the rest of Labrador, just look at this. Very light winds, 23 degrees, sunny skies, looking like a great day even along the coast. It's going to be nice and warm and sunny. So looking ahead to Thursday, it's going to stay very gray and rainy for the east. Going to have a few showers moving in later, but you won't see that until Friday for Labrador. So the highs for St. John's on Thursday still sitting at 11 degrees with some showers. But as you move west, things start to look much nicer. 19 degrees in Corner Brook, 17 in Port aux Basques on Thursday with a mix of sun and cloud. And once again, Labrador looking fantastic. 28 degrees on Thursday for Happy Valley Goose Bay. So it's going to be a sweltering one on that day. So on Friday, that's when things start to change for Lab West. We're going to see some showers move in there. Temperatures dip down slightly, 18 degrees in Lab City. On the island, things are still looking really nice in the west, but still cool in the east. We're just going up very, very incrementally with the temperature of 15 degrees in St. John's on Friday as we head into the weekend. Then on Saturday, not much better. Cloudy skies expected there, 16 degrees. And then on Sunday, we start to warm up a little bit more with a chance of showers. For central areas, temperatures staying nice and warm above 20 with some showers moving in on Sunday as well for the west coast of the island. And for Labrador, staying quite nice in the west with temperature-wise, but some wet weather moving in. And for eastern Labrador, staying quite warm, another 28-degree day coming on Sunday. So I wanted to show you a couple of viewer photos of the day because I got some shots. Here's one from Happy Valley Goose Bay of the comet. Lots of people taking photographs of the Neowise comet that's been in the sky over the past while. So we got this one from Happy Valley Goose Bay, and we got another one from Terra Nova. This is Terra Nova National Park, another beautiful shot of the Neowise comet, courtesy of Dave Newbury. And as we move east, we have another shot from Topsail Bluff. So lots of people looking to the skies, taking beautiful, beautiful shots of that comet. Thank you so much to Tony Seward for sending that one in. Well, a director from St. John's has released his second feature-length film on video on demand. Christian Sparks has been working in the business for nearly 15 years, and last month his latest film, Hammer, hit streaming services online in the United States and Canada. The movie stars well-known Newfoundland and Labrador actor Mark O'Brien, and it's getting rave reviews on both sides of the border. Here Now's Jeremy Eaton caught up with Sparks at his home in Toronto.
There's just been a little accident with the car. What about this girl in the field?
She was shot, Dad. You left her? You knew how she felt and you used her against me.
No, it wasn't like that. You didn't know. Yeah, that's what you said last night.
Well, Hammer's a crime thriller that takes place in a small town. It's about a middle-aged man who realizes that his son is involved in crime, and he has to kind of infiltrate that world in order to try and protect him. And along the way, they end up doing some pretty violent, heinous things that threaten to kind of destroy the relationship. So it's a kind of a pulpy crime film with rich themes about families and secrets and lies, and hopefully that elevates it beyond just typical genre fare.
How's it going with you? How's Lori?
We've been friends for about 15 years now. We met when we were both volunteering, or he was making a short film, sorry, at the local co-op, NIFCO. And I volunteered to be a sound recordist on his first short film. And we've been friends ever since. I mean, you know, both fans of each other's work, kind of tracking what the other is doing. And when I wrote this script, he was the first person I had in mind. It's a lengthy process. I mean, he saw multiple drafts of the script. We had talked over the years. He helped me kind of flesh out the character a bit at times. And so, yeah, I mean, he had to juggle other offers. You know, he's a busy guy doing quite well for himself. So I feel fortunate that he agreed to come on board.
Hey.
I do a fair bit of work in commercial and TV in between, you know, trying to do feature films. So you're always kind of honing your craft. I mean, the budget was, you know, we made the first one for $250K, and we made this one for like around $2 million. So the budget was bigger. But, you know, once you go union and you're traveling to Ontario and there's guns and motorcycle chases, it doesn't take long to eat the budget up. I'd say, if anything, I probably honed my skills working with actors. You know, just learning how to talk to actors, really fostering that relationship. So it's really rewarding.
Wait a minute. You said?
Yeah, it's fine. It's not like he's going to call the cops.
We have a Canadian casting director and a U.S. Director as well. And yeah, so, you know, we have a list of actors who we think could be a good fit in the role. Will was certainly at the top of that list. I've been a lifelong fan, and I wanted a character actor of his type. The one everyone may not know his name, but as soon as they see him, they're like, I love that guy. That's the kind of actor you want. So the casting director sent the script to his agents, and then they were like, within a couple of days, I got a call saying, Will loves the script. He's going to call you tonight and talk about it just out of the blue. So I was a little nervous, but I was excited. I mean, the fact that he was going to call and chat meant that he liked it. And yeah, it was the beginning of it. It sounds cheesy, but we're still very good friends to this day. We talk regularly. So
he comes back and he goes over to the crib, because we had the crib in there at this point. And
I think maybe when I was younger, I thought of each film as like, this is my one and only chance to break out, and if I don't succeed, you know, I'm going to be relegated to obscurity. But I don't really think of it that way. Like, it's such a long process making a movie. Like, this is almost 5 years from the time I came up with the idea. I mean, I've written other scripts and adapted a novel in that time, so you're always keeping busy. I tend to think of it now more like chapters in a book. I don't put too much pressure on myself. I mean, you do your best job, and then it's on to the next one.
How you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
The purpose of your visit?
The response has been great. It's exceeded my expectations, to be honest. You know, especially in the U.S., we've got a lot of coverage and really positive reviews from places like Roger Ebert, The Hollywood Reporter, Variety. You know, we're up to 30 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes now. It's really great. I mean, all you can hope for is that accomplished, articulate critics see what you're going for. I mean, when it's positive, you tend to think they're very smart and insightful, and when it's negative, you tend to think they're churlish and self-involved. So it's just the nature of the business.
What are you doing?
The movie is very much about a relationship between a father and son. I come from a really, tight-knit family, strong household. And my father, who's a pretty well-known Newfoundland artist named Ian Sparks, his nickname was Hammer. So it seemed like the story is obviously not directly about my dad, but it seemed like an homage to a great man, a man I love, very much. Obviously, he's my father. Sadly, he passed away during the editing of this film, as did the father of my producing partner, Allison White. So it's bittersweet, certainly.
Good. Yeah. I'm Chris. Wayne. Hey, nice to meet you, Wayne. Yeah.
It can be challenging for sure. I mean, working in a vacuum, working in a small place like St. John's. Great film community, though. I mean, I've been lucky. I've had the support of a really close friend and producing partner, Allison White, who I'd never be able to do what I do without. Support of the local film community and co-ops. We made a bunch of short films. This is my second feature now, hopefully prepping to make my third soon. And in the meantime, I've done a bunch of commercial work for Newfoundland Tourism, Teachers Union, those kind of things. So I've been pretty fortunate, to be honest.
Well, creativity knows no bounds in Newfoundland and Labrador. It comes out in all forms, from pottery to painting to comic books. In our series, Drawn to It, we take a peek inside the artistic process of local creators. And tonight, we meet Mike Feehan, an illustrator and comic book artist who's drawn for DC Comics.
My name is Mike Feehan. I am an illustrator and comic book artist and storyboard artist. I was definitely creative as a child. I was always drawing, and I think that whether I was actually good or not, people told me that I was, and I liked getting that praise, and it made me feel like I was good at something, so I just kept doing it. There's a drive that doesn't go away. It's like, you know, somewhere in me I was made to do this, and every time I do something, I'm trying to level up, I'm trying to get better. When I was in high school, I was playing in punk bands. I had a lot of friends who played in punk bands, and people started coming to me asking me to do show posters or album artwork. So that's kind of when I first started doing freelance work. I've always been really interested or been attracted to kind of grungy things. Like sometimes when I'm driving around the Bay and I see old boarded up houses, there's just something about everything going on there, all the details, all the kind of grunginess to it. Anytime I'm drawing a background or a cityscape or something, there's always tiny cracks in the building or grunge on the walls or graffiti or something. So I would describe my artistic style as kind of an open line, or the French term is ligne claire style. It's kind of a European style of drawing comics, but I didn't even realize that I was doing that until later in my career. When I was younger, I was drawing a lot of Japanese style cartoons, and as I got older and I got into high school, I started trying to draw what I thought like American style comics would look like. That's kind of how my style developed, which are not heavy shadows, more clear defined lines with a lot of details in the lines. The work that I'm most proud of is definitely my work with DC on the Snagglepuss Chronicles. You know, I wanted to be a comic book artist ever since I was a kid, you know, even though I didn't think it would be an achievable dream. And to see all of that come together and see it on the page, then be able to see my work on a stand with my name on it and the DC Comics logo on it, it's just been the coolest thing. So I'm very, very proud of that. And also the work that I did for Stranger Things. Like, I just did some fan art that I was really proud of. And then the people who run the Stranger Things social media pages, they saw it and hired me to do 3 more pieces just like it for them. I think that anyone can be good at drawing. It's just you need to have the passion to want to do it all the time in order to get better. And I think that's kind of the key.
Nice, very talented. And here's another story about artistic creativity. Some people collect beach glass or seashells, but one man in Nova Scotia is taking fishing junk from the ocean and turning it into art. Colleen Jones has his story.
Just outside of Yarmouth in the ocean community of Pembroke, you'll find Mike Wedge out for his daily beach walk. When he moved here from Vancouver almost 4 years ago, he was struck by the garbage that rolled in with every tide. Each beach walk would bring in another haul of junk.
And I was just seeing all this garbage. And first thing, it just troubled me at first. And then I thought, there's got to be a solution. We've got to be able to turn this into something.
What can he do with it? How about art? This garbage collection of lobster tags, ropes, old boards, and tires became something beautiful, using some unlikely things.
The birth control, I think that is.
It's not just his incredible works of art. You see this awesome beach house?
Well, this is the shed.
Everything came from the ocean or the local dump.
This is built from junk I found on the beach or on the dump. So I started gathering it, and I gathered it in color piles. And then I brought it back and I thought, I could build a wall. So I thought, well, what if I build a shed to hang out in? So I literally started building this with just the unpainted stuff.
His modest shack, inspired by Maud Lewis and her artist's house.
Her spirit, I could just feel, you know, there was a connection.
For Mike, recycling ocean garbage into something useful has been restorative for both himself and the ocean. car accidents when he lived in British Columbia left him with, among other issues, vertigo. Art is healing.
When I hear the ocean, I don't hear the ringing in my ears. And so it brings peace.
By the way, it's not only his art and the beach shed, everything in his garage, from the work tables and the benches and his easels, he's made from junk. He's selling his art now online, but gives back all the money for different charitable projects in the Yarmouth area.
What's discarded by society as they don't want anymore. At one point it served a purpose, but now they don't. And I'll take that which has been rejected, turn it into something beautiful, sell it. 100% of what I sell goes to people who are marginalized and rejected by society.
His dream is that he runs out of garbage on the beach to use, but until then, he'll keep beachcombing and creating beautiful things. Colleen Jones, CBC News, Pembroke.
Oh, knife. I keep saying fuck you, forget it. Here a bone knife you didn't answer. Here a bone one. Nice Phillips, eh?
Well, that's one way to fillet a cod. We showed you this video last night and asked you to send in your own to show off your cod filleting skills and teach us some tricks. And we got this video from Walter Phillips.
Not his first time filleting a fish, I can guarantee you
Second
that.
time. I told Trisha he's not the best, but there's no one better.
Phillips is now 82 years old and lives in Bonavista. His family says he learned to fillet cod when he was a young boy. They recorded this video last year to show off his abilities. Well, how do you fillet cod? Let us know. Send us a video like Mr. Phillips just did. You can email us at hereandnow.nl@cbc.ca. We're also on Facebook and Twitter @CBCNL. Welcome back to Here and Now. A previously unpublished photo is giving a new look at the Halifax explosion. The image recently surfaced on social media. The CBC's John Tatry got to the bottom of the mysterious picture.
It's 1917, December 6th. A massive explosion knocks you off your feet. Moments later, you manage to stand. Your head and ears are ringing. Your hand bumps against your camera. You forgot you had it. Instinctively, you hold the camera still and capture that nightmarish moment in time. That's the story this photo claims to tell. The inscription on the back deepens the mystery. Taken 30 seconds after the Halifax explosion. RGS. But as it turns out, this photo has not been seen by many casual or expert explosion historians. So how real is it? Our mystery starts with Reddit, a popular website with an index of thousands of communities called subreddits around the world. On June 21, a user, whose account is now deleted, wrote in the Halifax subreddit, "Hello from Halifax, West Yorkshire," the post read. "I found this photograph of the Halifax explosion today in a collection of old photographs." Users swarmed, asking questions, offering their own theories. CBC traced this photo to the Municipal Archives in Belleville, Ontario. An archivist explained it was donated in 2012 as part of a personal album of photos dated between 1917 and 1919, some of which were taken by a man named Reginald Garnett Stevens, RGS. CBC News then sent the photo to two explosion experts, Joel Zemmel, a local historian who has written 2 books about the explosion, and Dan Conlon, a former curator at the Maritime Museum of the Atlantic. Both have seen and researched countless explosion photos, but neither have seen this one published. In the center of the RGS photo, you can make out the ominous column of smoke reaching up into the sky. Zemmel estimates there are roughly 20 photos of the actual blast cloud. He says it's hard to verify them, since some photos have since been suspected of being doctored composites, like this one. And the clouds, unfortunately, don't tell us much more. In fact, they obscure other potential clues. So if Stevens was the photographer, where was he standing? One of the only vantage points to match the angle and height of the photograph would have been from a ship. And sure enough, Zemmel dug deep into the naval records and proved that Stevens was a mate on HMCS Niobe, anchored about a kilometer from the explosion. But if this mystery feels solved, it's not. Zemmel says it's odd how calm the water is. He says it's more likely the photo was taken minutes later, but remembered by the photographer as seconds after the explosion. And then there's that sailboat in the foreground. It's arguably the most important clue, but its identity eludes both historians. But as Conlon points out, we only have good lists of the ships damaged by the explosion. If the ship wasn't hurt by the explosion, it could have sailed quietly into the mists of time. So do the historians think the photo is credible? Yes. So do they know enough to confirm all the details? Not yet. But for both historians, the photo is a reminder that the explosion is still telling us new stories more than a century later.
Well, turning now to some more national news, Canada's biggest airport is cutting 500 jobs. Toronto's Pearson Airport made the announcement this morning, citing a lack of business due to COVID-19 travel restrictions. Aaron Saltzman reports.
The cuts represent more than 1/4 of the jobs at Pearson. They include 200 vacancies that won't be filled and 300 voluntary departures and layoffs.
All passengers.
The airport authority says the workforce simply isn't needed. There were 97% fewer passengers through Pearson in April than a year earlier.
With regards to the airline industry, tough time, yeah.
Isabelle Dosteller, Dean of Business at Memorial University, says it's the same situation at other airports across the country, including St. John's.
The airports in St. John's, where I live, underwent major renovation in recent years, like lots of improvements. it's now empty. You look at the screen and there's like, normally the screen is full announcing flights coming in or flying out, and there's like just 3-4 lines now. So it's all across the system.
Toronto is the third major Canadian airport to announce job cuts. Vancouver cut a quarter of its workforce in May, and Calgary cut 1/3 of its staff back in March. Aaron Saltzman, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, the UK has decided to exclude Huawei from the nation's new high-speed mobile phone network over concerns about spying.
Government agrees with the National Cybersecurity Centre's advice. The best way to secure our networks is for operators to stop using new affected Huawei equipment to build the UK's future 5G networks.
British telecom operators have been given 7 years to completely remove Huawei equipment already in Britain's 5G network, and they must stop buying 5G equipment from the Chinese telecom giant by year-end. The decision would also delay the UK's rollout of the high-speed technology and add costs of about 3.4 billion Canadian dollars. Many Western governments are wary of Huawei's direct links to the Chinese government. The US has been threatening to stop intelligence sharing with its allies, including Canada, if they use Huawei technology. Welcome back to Here and Now. Well, how fast does a flash flood move? Just have a look at this. Terrifying. These images were recorded by the wife of the man who narrowly managed to escape the deluge. She shouted prayers until she saw he was safe. But the damage from heavy rains across Turkey's northeastern region is extensive. There have been 4 fatalities across the region and several homes have been destroyed. Rain is in the forecast for the region again tomorrow. Well, it may not be possible to completely stop climate change, but in northern Italy, there's a serious effort to slow down the damage. 100,000 square meters of white geotextile sheets have been placed over a glacier to reduce the melting of ice. They were put there in June to reflect the sunlight during the summer months in an attempt to lower the temperature of the permanent ice. The sheets, kept in place by sandbags, have been laid out every year since 2008 and are said to have reduced ice loss by 1/3. The covers come off when temperatures drop at the start of the ski season. Well, before we leave you tonight, here's a quick recap of our weather forecast. Temperatures taking a dive in the east, looking at a high of 11 degrees in St. John's tomorrow. Lots of rain on the way for the Avalon Peninsula, looking at about 15 to 25 millimeters. Marystown looking at about 5 to 10 millimeters of rain. Staying chilly there as well. Corner Brook heading up to a high of 20 degrees tomorrow with a mainly cloudy day. Labrador, though, looking fantastic tomorrow. Lab City hitting a high of 23 degrees, sunshine right across the board. Even Nain looking at 19 degrees as the high tomorrow. So it's going to be a nice stretch of sunshine there for Labrador until we hit about Friday. Well, that's it for the news tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you can join us again tomorrow evening. Good night.